In case you missed it, here's Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week.
If you ask 10 people for a cure for the hiccups, you'd probably get 9 different answers. And it seems like there's a lot of different cures out there. Do any of them actually work?
Well, CNN recently asked doctors about a bunch of different hiccup cures that are out there, and they said it's possible that everything works at least a little bit. So for starters, hiccups are sudden spasms in your diaphragm muscle near the stomach, and it sends a message to your brain to close a flap in your throat again and again. So stopping hiccups ideally involves the diaphragm, the vagus nerve, and the phrenic nerve. So here are 4 different ways that can possibly help. And a lot of them really are just trying to distract your brain from realizing that you have the hiccups.
Holding or taking a breath, so forcing any sort of unnatural breathing can be beneficial because it's activating that nerve in a way that it tricks your body to forget about the spasm.
One that my aunt always told me was drinking water. There's a lot of different remedies, whether it's just drinking a glass of water. I think my aunt told me it was take 10 small sips of water in a row, drinking water while standing on one leg. All of it can just kind of distract your brain from the hiccups.
Sugar's another one. My mom always swore by a little bit of brown sugar in water, and then you throw that back.
Well, I've heard peanut butter from some people, too, taking a spoonful of peanut butter. And they say the suction can kind of explain that, which also might be why plugging your ears can work as well. And then finally, a lot of people, I think I've had the hiccups and you'll come around the corner and try to scare me. And that can help as well. But what about thinking about cows? I've never heard this one before. But apparently thinking about cows can help you get rid of your hiccups. And really what it is, it's, the concentration and distraction helps you distract your brain from realizing you have the hiccups.
So your dad has cows, so the next time you have the hiccups, think about walking out into the barn and seeing all the delicious beef. And then you'll think about hamburger, and then you get hungry, and you'll hiccup more.
Yeah, and I'll let you know. I'll try that the next time I have the hiccups, see if thinking about cows really does work.
Yum. Science. It's not rocket science.
Check it out. I blinded us with science.
So, let me ask you this question. Have you ever wanted to own a robot?
Yeah, it would be cool, yeah.
Have you ever wanted to own a goat? Maybe?
They're kind of stinky. I don't know.
Kawasaki has unveiled the world's first rideable robot goat. It debuted at a trade show in Japan, and it kind of looks like those robot dogs made by Boston Dynamics, but it's got the head of a goat, and you can ride it like a horse.
Because why not?
Because why not in the midst of everything else going on in 2022?
Hey, NASA's James Webb Telescope just finished its fine phasing alignment stage. It's still on pace to send back its first full-resolution pictures this summer. Meanwhile, the planet Mercury apparently is littered with diamonds.
Someone somewhere's like, really? It'd be a little warm, though, trying to get there.
It might take a little while, too.
Hey, in bug news, we figured out how to lure male murder hornets to their death using sex pheromones from murder hornet queens. Isn't that something? And a video of fire ants building a bridge to cross a piece of double-sided tape has gone viral. They hate sticky surfaces, apparently. The ingenuity of ants just blows my mind away.
Yeah, so I guess if you thought you could lay down tape and that would protect you, no.
Probably not.
Not going to work. They'll find a way around it. And finally, it's an established fact that having certain pets can contribute to better overall health. I mean, think about all of the actual kilometers you have walked with your dog, Dave. But now scientists say pets can also be good for your brain. So this new study found that your dog, cat, or other long-term pet companion may delay memory loss and other kinds of cognitive decline. Pet ownership was found to be especially beneficial for working verbal memory, such as memorization. Now, this study was all done by the University of Michigan, and they say it's not just cats and dogs. People in the study also benefited from caring for rabbits, hamsters, birds, fish, and reptiles. So apparently if you own a household pet for 5 years or more, that has the most benefits.
How amazing is that? So if you want to check out some great animals, make sure to go to country929.com.
Every week we feature a different pet, either from CK Animal Rescue or Pet and Wildlife Rescue.
Well, now that we're lifting mandates here and there and we're trying to get back to where we were a few years ago, do you find yourself a little bit more sensitive to noise these days?
Apparently, a new poll found that 43% of adults are more sensitive to loud music than they were 2 years ago. And I think it's because we spent so much time inside away from all the noise. 42% of people say they're also more sensitive to loud conversations and crosstalk than they used to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, when you used to go to a loud restaurant or we would MC an event and you'd be having cross conversations. People are having a hard time focusing on the one conversation they're having when there are all these other conversations happening around them.
We went out to a restaurant a few months ago, and it was pretty busy. It was a smaller place, and I actually remember saying that to my wife. I was like, wow, it feels really loud in here. We're more sensitive to that now.
Yeah, you're just not used to it. A couple of other stats that they found from this same poll. Loud music isn't the most annoying sound from family members and roommates. Loud phone conversations and loud chewing actually tied for first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
my wife hates that.
Yeah, people have become more hypersensitive to it, especially over the pandemic.
60% of us would wear earplugs more often, but worry we'd be judged for it. The 5 most annoying sounds we deal with away from home: traffic, loud music, construction, crying babies, and other people coughing or sneezing. Well, in the last 2 years, if you're out in public and you cough or sneeze, you're going to get dirty looks.
I know.
Anyway.
And as we're coming up on allergy season, I sneeze like every single day now because there's so much more dust and pollen
And everything in the air, yeah.
And the most annoying sounds at home are noisy neighbors, family members' electronics, house sounds, you know, like a leaky faucet, loud kitchen appliances like a blender, and loud conversations.
Well, let's face it. So we're being affected by this. Animals certainly were affected in different ways, too, because over the last couple of years, how many animals started coming in a little bit closer into, you know, built up areas because there was less traffic? There were reports of that all over the world. So,
well, even I've just noticed, too, like, we're finally back in the same room now. We should actually post a picture of this. We have a
plastic divider.
There's a plastic divider here now, but I'm back in the main studio. I'm not in a separate booth, but because I was in that sort of separate booth, I noticed once I came back in, I was like, oh, I don't have to yell at you anymore get through the wall.
But now, you know, you mentioned allergy season. I'm glad that's there. It can be a sneeze guard when you start sneezing. It doesn't come over.
And now it's time for
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's random.
Is that a fact?
Is that a fact?
4 Random Facts.
Well, this first random fact is just a sad fact. The world produces enough food to feed everyone on the planet. The problem is distribution. About 821 million people are considered to be chronically undernourished, particularly in Africa and South America. And there's a great video that I think I shared with you that went viral on TikTok of a woman that dumpster dives in the U.S., where in a lot of places it's illegal to do that. And the things that she's been able to find that are clean and not even outdated, that are just getting tossed into landfills.
They either just don't have the space or they're about to expire.
Or certain boxes that, you know, the cardboard's broken on one corner, so they can't donate it, apparently. They just throw it out.
Hey, New Zealand's Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, she actually gave birth back in 2018. And she's only the second elected world leader ever to give birth while in office. The first was Pakistan's Prime Minister back in 1990.
Did you know this? Migraines are 3 times more common in women than in men.
Is that a sign that we carry a lot more stress, or is it something to do with sort of physiological or
how you're affected by the atmosphere, storms coming,
hormones,
maybe? All of that,
that
all
balance
tied in together.
Strange. And finally, I can't get over this one. Listerine was first marketed as a feminine hygiene product in 1932.
What?
Specifically, it was to clean and, quote, deodorize your lady parts. Think about that for a minute. Listerine on your lady parts.
I'm not even a lady and I'm making a face.
You know how it burns your mouth?
Could you imagine what it does in other places? Yeah. It's your 4 random facts.
Today's
1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
So random.
Random.
Give the public the facts.
4 Random Facts.
This is a wild story. Out of the ashes of the Notre Dame Cathedral's terrible fire in 2019 is springing out some new discoveries of what they're finding. So a team of archaeologists recently found sculptures and then several tombs below the church's floor, as well as this.
A 14th century sarcophagus that they believe belonged to a religious leader. So the French Cultural Ministry stated that multiple burials were found beneath the church floor, but they didn't offer details about the nature of any burials besides the one sarcophagus, which was found around the pipes of an underground heating system dating back to the 19th century.
Now, it's unclear why in the 1800s they left the sarcophagus interred amongst their plumbing. So basically, they went around it with the plumbing. You know why? Because in the 1800s, they were like, no, let's leave this right where it is. Lead sarcophagus, which was actually poured in the shape of that person's body, too.
They say it was in surprisingly good shape, though. It was warped and a little dented from the weight of the earth on top of it for so many years, but other than that, pretty good condition. So they say the tombs were beneath a stone layer that dated back to the 18th century, though sections of the church floor do date to the earliest 13th century.
Now, the foundation stone of the church, that was actually laid back in 1163. So archaeologists on site actually inserted a small camera into the sarcophagus to, kind of check out the contents and see what condition they were in. And they said you can glimpse pieces of fabric, even hair above a pillow, on top of leaves, a well-known phenomenon when religious leaders were buried at that time.
So they're now planning to take it to a lab for further examination.
Don't be opening that thing. What are you doing? It's 2022.
Well, no, but they can take it to a lab and they can do, like CT scans and MRIs. Like they can do sort of all those X-rays.
They could, but from what I was reading, it sounds like they plan to open it up and check it out. I mean, maybe they were smarter in the 1800s and they came across that. We're like, no, let's leave this right where it is.
Have you not seen The Mummy, the movie The Mummy with Brendan Fraser?
Right?
You don't open the tomb.
You just leave it alone. By the way, the Cathedral Notre Dame is expected to reopen in 2024. Well, if you don't have any houseplants around your place, you may want to pick some up.
Well, some specific ones. So researchers found that certain common houseplants can actually reduce the levels of nitrogen dioxide, a common pollutant, by as much as 20%. So here's the three that were the best: the peace lily, the corn plant, and the fern arum. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but those three were all able to remove about half of the nitrogen dioxide in a controlled chamber over the course of an hour. And it didn't matter what the conditions were like. And they say this is fantastic news because it can help clean the air in your own home.
And if you're someone that suffers from allergies, this may go a long way to helping that too by having these specific types of plants in your home.
Allergies, asthma, other respiratory diseases. So you might want to go out and get the peace lily, a corn plant, and a fern. They will all help to clear the air in your house.
Well, have you found yourself a little tired over the last couple of weeks? Maybe little bursts of energy here and there when we had those really nice days. Maybe you're still being affected by the time change. Well, take a nap.
Yeah, we've got 4 reasons why you should be taking a nap or two. They say it can charge your brain's batteries. A NASA study on astronauts actually found that taking naps improved working memory performance. So that involves focusing attention on one task while having other tasks in your memory. And a different study found that people who took afternoon naps had better mental agility than people who did not nap.
I don't know. We nap every day. I don't know if I'd question that a little. It could lower your risk of heart problems. According to one study, taking a nap once or twice a week could actually help with that.
Taking a nap can also help you get into shape. Apparently, this study from just in 2020 found that the more sleep-deprived someone was, the more likely they were to consume sugar, fatty foods, and caffeine.
That makes sense. You're reaching for maybe some of those comfort foods and caffeine to stay awake.
Convenience foods.
That too.
Because you don't have that mental agility to be like, what do I want to make? So you just go get takeout.
And naps could boost your creativity. Researchers have found that the right side of your brain stays active while you're napping. That's the side of your brain that's associated with creative tasks.
So I guess if you're working from home and you're not feeling so creative, can you just take a nap and tell your boss, well, I'm going to go take a creative nap or something?
Tell them that today and see how that works out. It's Dave and Cheryl. We've got some great stories about animals for you this morning. And you grew up on a farm with cows, and it happens. Every once in a while, maybe they get out.
They escape. It happens. They break through a fence.
Wander off.
The electric fence, shorts out.
One goes and the rest follow.
Exactly. Well, this homeowner down in Georgia says her Ring doorbell camera woke her up in the middle of the night. There was activity in her front yard, and when she checked it out, she found a herd of cows standing on her front lawn, and they were all mooing very loudly. She says they destroyed her landscaping, ate her bushes, and one even tried to eat the camera, but it held on.
Yeah, she walked right up to the front of where the camera was, started licking the camera, and then tried to eat it.
The trick is to yell at them to go back, because usually they just turn around and go back the same way they came.
Well, that's not the only cow story. Cows don't care about human highways. California Highway Patrol and other officers had to respond earlier this month after a cow was spotted wandering the eastbound lanes of the 210 freeway. And that is a very dangerous spot because their highways are always so busy in California. They tried to use their vehicles to guide the cow off the roadway. Animal got spooked on the next exit ramp and went back on the freeway. The cow was eventually coaxed off the road, temporarily blocked in by authorities in a parking lot of a shopping center. It managed to escape again, though, when it climbed a staircase to get up on another street. Eventually, they had to call in some farm workers. They had to get some cowboys out there. They were able to lasso the cow as it kind of wandered off into a dirt driveway. Not clear how or where it escaped from.
But he did not want to be caught, that's for sure.
No, he was on the loose.
Well, from cows to hippos, the Colombian government has declared 130 hippos that originated from Pablo Escobar's estate to be invasive species. So he purchased the hippos. I guess he always just wanted them.
He had so much money, he didn't know what to do with.
Yeah, so he brought in these hippos, and officials say the herd could actually grow by over 400 if they don't intervene. The hippos have no natural predators either, right? So they're just sort of terrorizing the local wildlife and people there. And of course, animal rights activists, they don't want them to be killed. But I mean, it's hard to sort of wrangle them. Like, they need to wrangle them up and try to get them into like a sanctuary or something, because one of them recently attacked a man when he was out fishing.
If you've ever watched the series Narcos, then the one that's about Pablo Escobar, you know that he did this. This is a real thing. He brought them all in.
They're known as the cocaine hippos, and apparently they're terrorizing the town.
Hey, this is a different type of home invader. A police department in South Carolina posted on Facebook recently about how officers helped out when they learned a citizen had a black rat snake attempting to enter their home without permission.
Nope.
They wrote, "We surrounded the home, tactically entered the residence, and successfully took one huge black rat snake into custody without any injury." They also released the snake back into the wild, and that residents in the area might start to see more snake activity as the weather starts to get a little bit warmer. But this one was attempting to get inside the house.
Pass.
No thanks.
Pass.
And one more snake story, too.
Yeah, a woman down in Australia thought there was a burglar in her house. It ended up just being a huge python, and the snake catcher explains the whole situation.
We've just received a call in Glenview. Now, the lady's actually got a huge snake. She's described as a huge snake in her pantry in the kitchen. She thought she had a burglar. I could have to use my camera to see where he was. Yeah, well, that doesn't belong in the pantry, that's for sure.
So Australian. Well, mate, you don't belong in the pantry. What are you doing here? So he took the snake out, released it out into the wild further away from the home, and hopefully it doesn't come back.
Apparently he was just looking for pancakes.
You've been listening to Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week.